Very much, Jaya. Wonderful to see you again, and also thank you, Ben, for the kind words of solidarity. I'm not in Shanghai at the moment, so to all of my colleagues and friends in Shanghai, I hope that the current lockdown will be over soon and that your lives will be able to all return to normal. I was also very pleased to hear the remarks by the Deputy Vice Chancellor at Nelson Mandela University, which is the university located in Port Elizabeth, which is my hometown. So I'm feeling very much at home in this conversation here today. It's a great privilege and honor to speak to you today on behalf of the New Development Bank. But let me say from the outset that we have people like Srinivas, Dr. Ben and others, Jaya and others, who are significantly more qualified than me to talk about central bank digital currencies. What I would like to do today is to set this sort of context within which the central bank digital currency movement is expanding and has expanded, and to also probe some questions that will become of relevance, I believe, in the next year or two or three to come. And I would like to also raise some fundamental questions about the historical, political, and economic moment that we are in 2022. And by that, I'm not referring to the current political juncture of the last month or two. I'm referring to this period that we are living through, which is defined by significant changes in the global economic structure as we know it. I think in setting the scene, the first comment that I'd like to make is that it is very important to start the conversation with where it all started. The defining moment of the global financial architecture is Bretton Woods 1944. In 1944, in a place called New Hampshire in the United States, at the end of the Second World War, the core and essential architecture of the modern financial system was designed by people like John Maynard Keynes, who represented the United Kingdom Treasury, John Harry Dexter from the United States, who eventually went on to become the head of the World Bank, and all of those were the founding fathers of the International Monetary Fund. I mentioned that as the starting point because the United States dollar became the anchor reserve currency of the world in 1944. The global payment systems that have evolved over the last 80, 90 years have been anchored around the US dollar. And the creation of the IMF as the body responsible for monetary and financial stability is where we should start this conversation. Despite the fact that the world changed quite fundamentally over the last 75 years, the core architecture of that system that was designed in 1944 remains in place to this day. Now, I might just remind you, in 1944, the United States constituted just about 50% of the global economy, and therefore the design of that architecture was very much designed in such a manner that the biggest economy in the world at the time will have also been the biggest beneficiary of the system. To put it simply, as you know, if your currency is the reserve currency, you can simply print money and expand your debt without the additional consequences that you would have if it was, let's say, an emerging market currency that is pegged to a global currency. So the first point I'd like to make is that we have to go back to that core architecture, because even though Keynes argued then very forcefully that we should be looking at what eventually, as you know, in 1969 became the special drawing rights, which diversified and stretched beyond just one currency and created a pool or a basket of currencies, which included, as you know, the British pound, the euro, the yen, and in 2016 also the renminbi. What we will see over the next number of years to come is increasingly a greater use of as currencies of trade and also as reserve currencies, the use of the renminbi, the use of these other global currencies. But just to get perspective, as you know, most of global trade takes place in US dollars, and even though China has risen over the last 40 years to become a $15.3 trillion economy, it still only constitutes about 5% of global foreign exchange flows. In short, what I'm saying is that the world is ripe and is at a decisive moment for a greater diversification and movement away of the US dollar as the central anchor currency. The second point I'd like to make is that the last 40 years in particular have been defined by the emergence of large emerging markets, China being the leading force there, together with India, Brazil, Indonesia, Mexico, Turkey, and others, and so on. The BRICS creation has been an important development over the last 15 years or so, and beginning to play a much bigger role as the anchor of the emerging markets as part of this transition. The New Development Bank, as we all know, was created as one concrete expression of an institutional formation where BRICS is hoping that it will be the anchor of, over time, a larger emerging markets voice in the global financial system. We're very pleased today to report to you, as you know, that the New Development Bank is now going beyond BRICS. Last year, we were able to admit 4 new members. This year, we will admit even more members: Bangladesh, Egypt, Uruguay, United Arab Emirates. These are all new countries that have joined the New Development Bank, and the numbers will increase. In the next number of years, therefore, we will see this institution representing or being much more a voice for emerging markets more broadly. So what I'm suggesting, therefore, is that there are systematic changes, structural changes underway where emerging markets are getting a bigger voice in the global financial system. The third point I'd like to make is that we have to focus on what is the core design principles of the financial system. As you will see from all the literature around the central bank digital currencies, most of them, almost all of them actually, mention the centrality of the objective of financial inclusion. There is still more than 1.7 billion people who do not have access to basic financial services. The number just in China alone used to be much bigger. In China today, it is just under 10%. So the world is still faced with a major objective of ensuring that large numbers of people who are outside of the formal financial system have access to financial products and services. So this really is a fundamental driver of why the creation of central bank digital currencies is so critical in the world today. There are many people who argue that the creation of central bank digital currencies is one of the most fundamental, will have the biggest impact in the world of finance. Now, it is very important to observe that the International Monetary Fund is seeing itself as playing the leading policy guidance role in this regard. Now, the International Monetary Fund, together with the World Bank, together with all of the multilateral institutions, is still fundamentally led, controlled by the developed world. One of the essential features of central bank digital currencies is that there is no reason why the developed world have to take the vanguard role. It is quite interesting that the country that is the most advanced in terms of central bank digital currencies is the Bahamas, who created more than a year ago the sand dollar. And as you know, China has a experimentation underway which involves more than 100 million people in total, called the renminbi. There's also a project underway in Sweden, as you know, and several other countries. There is therefore no reason why emerging markets cannot play a leadership role in the development of central bank digital currencies. Today, we have over 80% of central banks are researching the potential of digital currencies, according to the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. What I'm suggesting, therefore, is that it is important for emerging markets to shape the central bank digital currency debates around their own objectives, because as the IMF has already pointed out in a report they produced in February, I can't remember the exact title of the report now, but it was quite a seminal paper on central bank digital currencies that came out in February, where they argue very strongly that we cannot take a one-size-fits-all approach. As you know, many countries have huge challenges around geography, where populations are spread, for example, in multiple islands. Bahamas is one, Philippines is another, Indonesia is another, where people are spread in terms of geography geographies. It is very difficult to provide services in remote areas. What digital currencies produce is the possibility of a much greater reach to those that are excluded. I guess what I'm saying in short is that central bank digital currencies offer the potential to advance the financial inclusion agenda and specifically enable emerging markets to fast track their own paths towards a developed status. Final couple of points that I would like to make is that one of the values of a conversation like the one that you have initiated here today, Jaya, is the need for BRICS countries to share best practices, to share learnings, because there is no way that we can have a successful implementation or rolling out a mass rollout of central bank digital currencies without us sort of looking at where are the pitfalls, where are the best practices, so that we can replicate those. And BRICS forms an important anchor constituency of countries where we can learn from. Within BRICS, there is no question that China is first amongst equals in terms of the development of their thinking in this regard. The Central Bank of China have got a dedicated unit, have had this for many, many years already, that is focused on this and that is leading the experimentation of the e-renminbi project.